Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I'm gonna do the usual spiel. My name is August Rose Crothers. I am an author, poet, content creator, founder of a literary magazine. And on this YouTube channel, I share vlogs, writing tips, and talk about bookish stuff. Today, it's just you and I in the cozy room, which I bought my first Halloween decoration yesterday, and I'm so excited I need to share it. Isn't she perfect? A little ghost pillow with a book. Going right on the cozy chair. I'm keeping her out until further notice. I honestly want to keep her out year-round, but so today we are going to be reading one-star reviews on some of my favorite books. I've seen other creators make these videos and I just think they're so enjoyable. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. For the first book, it's going to be a little bit of a controversial one, and that is Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I've said this in other videos before, but I think the Maple Hill series by Hannah Grace is very much like a guilty pleasure read, specifically Icebreaker and Daydream. But I genuinely enjoyed Wildfire a lot. I loved the characters, I loved the couples, I loved the like summer romance theme, and I really liked their backstories and how they grew with it throughout the story. But let's get started with some one-star reviews. So I'm going to be reading some Goodreads and maybe a little bit of Amazon. But for Wildfire Goodreads, one-star reviews. This first one says they got and while watching Ratatouille. Not wrong. Oh my god. This one says, this was worse than Icebreaker. How are people liking this? Are y'all high on cheap jugs? Hello. There was literally no plot and too many daddy issues that it was both of the main characters' entire personality. Curious how this was approved to be released. It needs major rework. Characters definitely have daddy issues. That's one of the things I liked about it. I felt like it made Russ and Aurora a lot more compatible. They showed just how much they understood one another. But I think that their daddy issues really do affect like who they are as people, which is probably why it seems like it's their entire personality. So this one says, Wildfire more like dumpster fire. Now, who are y'all's drug suppliers asking for a friend? Again with the drug accusations. What is this? Oh my god. This next one says, I fell asleep during a smut scene. That's all I'm saying. That sounds like a personal problem. This next one says, the puppies had more personality than them. That's crazy. Amazon Wildfire actually has no one-star reviews, which is interesting. The next book we're going to be doing is, I'm going to pull it out right over here, Cross the Line by Simone Sultani. This is a Formula One brother's best friend romance. So kind of like a friends to lovers, which friends to lovers is my personal favorite romance trope. I just think it's so sweet and aspirational, especially for the young woman audience that reads romance. But for Cross the Line, Sultani has another book called Ride With Me. I liked both books a lot. This was like one of my top reads last year just because it was so fun and it was such a breeze to read, and I really liked the characters and the coupling as well. One-star reviews on Goodreads for Cross the Line. This first one says, brother's best friend trope will always be hated by me, and why is this 416 pages long? Okay, I will say 416 pages is a lot for this story. I feel this way about other contemporary romances. If you don't like brother's best friend trope, then you're not gonna like this book. Like, I personally don't like the fake dating trope all that much, so I'm not gonna read a lot of books with that trope because I know I don't like it. This one says, if I ever have to read the words "get my dick wet" again, I'm going to punch someone in the throat. I get it. This next one-star review says, TikTok's overhyped leftovers. I don't see this book talked about on TikTok a lot. Interesting. And finally, this says, I miss F1 and this did not help. Okay. Okay, so the next one we're going to be talking about is definitely an old book, but it's one of my all-time favorite books, and that is the original Sex and the City by Candace Bushnell. It is obviously the original piece of work that the iconic show is based off of. The original Sex and the City show is one of my favorite shows of all time. I don't consider And Just Like That canon. Don't come for me. Loved the book because it is very different from the show, but I liked that it's really just like simple and raw and real and very unique, and every time I have read it or read bits and pieces from it, I just wish I could have experienced living in New York in the 80s and 90s. But for the first one-star review, it's for Sex and the City. This one says, there are very few books I quit reading, even if I don't like them, because I'm compelled with book guilt most of the time. I did not make it through this. All I can say is that the writers for HBO series really had some vision, because this show was about 4,000 times better than the book. I can agree the show is way better than the book, and I think that this is one of the extremely rare cases where the show or the television or movie adaptation is better than the book. The next one is, this book is nothing like the show, which I adore. I couldn't make it past 50 pages of this book. I was so bored. Candace Bushnell is so impressed with herself, and that's pretty much what her books are about. There was no plot or substance to hold my interest. I definitely see why people assume that Candace Bushnell is full of herself. I don't really know if I make that assumption, but I can see like where people are coming from, especially in recent years with certain like enlightenings of like scandals that she's been in. The book very much should be taken with a grain of salt, and I think if you're gonna read the book and you've watched the show, you just need to understand that this book is very, very different from the show. I'm gonna move on because again, there's no 1-star reviews on Amazon for this book, which is interesting. I think I'm just not gonna read Amazon reviews for these books. Next book we are going to be talking about is Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation. I read this one last year. It was another one of my top reads, obviously with the annotation tags. I loved this book. I'm gonna be coming back to it for writing inspiration on a future project of mine. Again, Friends to Lovers is one of my favorite tropes ever. I did read Beach Read and Book Lovers from Emily Henry, and I honestly wasn't like a huge fan of both of those, but I did love this book. Yeah, let's get into the 1-star reviews. The first one is very concerned about Poppy's hygiene habits. That's fair. I think it's me. Everyone seems to love it, but I really struggled with this. That's exactly how I feel with Book Lovers and Beach Read. I enjoyed Beach Read more than Book Lovers, and I liked about 50% of Beach Read. But then there was like another half of it I just like couldn't get down with, and I DNF'd Book Lovers. This one says, giving this book 2 stars isn't enough. I need to physically fight the people who recommended it to me. I felt that way about other book talk books before. This last one says, okay, I'm giving up. Miss Henry just isn't for me. In the month of August, I'm gonna read Happy Place, and I have high hopes for it because I know it's like a found family trope, which is one of the tropes in my current work in progress fiction novel. So I have high hopes for it. If I don't love it though, I'm definitely gonna call it a day on Emily Henry books. My best friend loves her. I know so many people that absolutely love her books, and like I said, loved this book. So excited for the movie adaptation. But yeah, if I don't love Happy Place, then I think I'm just gonna call it a day on her book. This one we're gonna be talking about and reading 1-star reviews from is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I read this one 2023, and I didn't like it at first, like the first 50 pages. I just wasn't really fond of it, but then something kicked in and I really liked it by the end. And this is a book I want to reread again. It's kind of like a modern day When Harry Met Sally, and it's like these two characters who don't really like each other at first, but then they become best friends, and over the course of years we see their journey together. Again, Friends to Lovers, my favorite romantic trope. Let's go ahead and read some 1-star reviews on You Again. This one says, I think if you publish a Raylo fanfic, you should be legally required to put a giant disclaimer covering about 70% of the page on the book cover, warning people of the crime you have committed. I am definitely tired of Raylo fanfictions, and I'm tired of Adam Driver fanfictions. It's one of the reasons I hated The Love Hypothesis. Like, no shade to Adam Driver, he's a very handsome man, but there's just so many other handsome men we could be basing our characters off of. And when I started this book, it being a Raylo fanfic was like one of the issues that I had with it. And I'm just gonna read the first line, you can read the rest, but this 1-star review says, this was so much worse than an Emily Henry book, side-eyeing everyone who gave it more than 1 star. Everything else about it, I understand what this book is saying. This one says, Ari absolutely has a personality disorder, and while people with personality disorders deserve to be loved, I simply don't want it in my romance books. Fair. One says, this book is going to land perfectly for the readers it was written for. I am not that reader. The self-awareness here, because I've definitely felt that way about books. Although I will say, if you just simply don't like a book because you know it's not for you, I don't think it's necessarily fair to rate it 1 star. When we're reviewing books, we should definitely take into account our own personal experience and how much we enjoyed reading it, but also look at it from an objective perspective, because as a reader and an author, a 1 star is crazy. One last one for You Again. You Again? More like, nah, never again. That's funny. That's pretty funny. I'm just gonna be reading one more 1-star review, and that is for one of my favorite books, and it's actually not in the contemporary romance category or poetry category, and that is George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood. If you do not know this about me, I am an absolutely massive Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire fan. Like, I literally have 2 Game of Thrones tattoos, and I'm getting married at a Game of Thrones filming location later this year. it's actually a problem. It may be a personality disorder. I loved Fire and Blood because it felt like a history class and it felt so real. But I know some people have a heart with it because of that. This 1-star review says, I DNF'd this textbook. The only enjoyable thing about this book were the pictures. Where's Winds of Winter? Where is Winds of Winter? If you don't like the format in which this book is told, I totally understand you not liking it at all. Call it a day. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you guys for watching. If you like videos like this, please like, comment, subscribe for more. It really helps small channels like mine grow. And I will see you guys in the next one.